Welcome back to the Talking Archive. I'm Josh Jacobs. Our conversation continues now with Fran Tunno in her time at Talk Radio 790 KABC, working on the morning show with Ken Minyard and Roger Barkley. Now, were you in studio with Ken and Barkley?
I was not. I was never in studio with any of the people I did traffic for. I was not in studio with Charlie, even though everybody thought we were. I was never in studio with any of them. But, you know, it was kind of nice because you didn't have to worry about how horrible you looked in the morning. You could just drag yourself out of bed and go to work, and nobody cared.
Jim Lang, remember, he did an interview. He said the best thing, he loved hosting both game shows as well as radio shows. But he said the best thing about the radio shows, you don't have to shave.
Yeah, you don't have to shave. You don't have to bathe. You don't have to do anything except show up and be caffeinated, because it is really helpful to, you know, to definitely have some perk in the morning. Oh my God, what would I have done without caffeine?
Yeah, definitely. I have a question. What did you do when you were at KHJ TV? Because you said you got your start there. Who did you get to work with? I
worked with a gal named Chantal Westerman.
Mm-hmm.
She was, oh man, was she a kick in the pants. She was really interesting, and she was their entertainment reporter. And so she would go out and do these interviews, and I would sit down and I'd you know, watch the whole interview, and I'd help produce the segment. You know, figuring out, you know, what sound bites to use and what sound bites not to use, and, you know, what was good and what B-roll to use. It was fun. I loved it. I also worked with a guy named, oh gosh, I can't think of his last name now, Russ. He was their medical reporter. Or health reporter or something.
Okay, because I remember Russ Nichols, 7 on Your Side.
Yeah, Russ Nichols, that was it. He was very, they were all really nice at that TV station. They, you know, they were very, very generous with their time, and, you know, really did whatever they could to try to help me out. So it was lovely. I mean, I had wonderful experiences in Los Angeles. I really treasure all my days there. It was fun.
I remember Chantal Westerman eventually went to ABC's Good Morning America, where she went simply as Chantal. Russ Nichols, before that, was 7 on Your Side on KABC Channel 7. I'm wondering, do you know, have you been in contact with either of them by chance?
I have not. Chantal was such a character. I think she was from Texas.
Mm-hmm.
She had a great sense of humor. And I honestly don't know. I don't know what she's doing now. I should reach out and see if I could track her down and find her. That would be most interesting.
Now, when you were on the other radio stations, with of course with Charlie Tuna, we were just talking about him a minute ago. How did you get the role to be part of? I think they called it Tuna and Tunno, if I'm not mistaken, on 570 KLAC, which by that point was a Pop Stern's format. How did you get to be Charlie's co-host?
You know, Charlie, when I worked for Rhonda Kramer, Rhonda used to be the traffic reporter for Charlie's radio show. I can't remember what station he was on at that time, but Rhonda was his co-host, and every so often, if she was out, I would fill in, and he was always just so funny and so nice, and you know, just really, really fun and friendly, and we had a terrific rapport. And so when I came back years later, and he came back on another show, which was KLAC Standard Swing and Big Band, and it was the morning show. He asked for me specifically, and I was exclusive because I used to do traffic. I just do one report after another for a string of different radio stations. But during that time, I was exclusive to KLAC, and we had so much fun. I think we did a parade in Long Beach. We used to do events. It was the most fun a person could have while working. That's for sure.
And you told me about the different jokes. How much, I guess, you know, because you were in separate studios, And then, of course, you're also responsible for traffic and news. How much time did you get behind the scenes to talk things out before you actually went on the air to execute the different elements?
You may be surprised to know this, that we never, ever, ever talked anything out before we did it.
Oh, wow.
It was all just off the cuff. And if you ever listen to those shows, you could probably tell. but it was just so. That was the great thing about working with him. He could roll with anything, and he could, and he would say anything to me. And of course, it usually, didn't fluster me too much. It was just really fun. I always thought, man, this was the job I was born for, because my brothers are smart alecks, and they raised me as a little kid to be a smart aleck. And I thought, wow, how great! I get paid to be a smart aleck on the radio. Can you hear the rain? I hope it's not bothering you.
Oh no, so you're lucky it's raining out there. Out here, it's really, really hot. We got the air conditioning full blast.
Yeah, I still get information on Los Angeles. Stuff comes up on my phone and on my computer telling me what's going on in Glendale, because I used to live in Glendale, and heat index is this, and I know. I feel bad. I have so many friends still back there. I stay in touch, and I usually know what's going on. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I live in Glendale myself, so.
Oh. It could be worse. You could have humidity. You should see my hair today, Josh. I look at a Brownlow pad. Honest to God, it's really unattractive.
Oh, man. I know it's very humid out in Pennsylvania. A lot of those places around the country, it's so humid.
Yeah, no kidding. But it's it goes back and forth here. Sometimes it's really lovely. I mean, that's the thing about Pennsylvania is the really rotten days make you go, oh my God, the weather is the best it will ever be on the days when it's really nice. It'll be clear blue skies, and there's not an ounce of humidity, and the trees are green, and the hills are rolling, and it's beautiful. And then most of the time it's not.
So you drown your sorrows in a Primanti Brothers sandwich or whatever other dish has French fries on it. I'm sure the pizza also has fries as well.
That's well, everything has French fries here. That much we could get clear right off the bat.
I'm wondering what the ice cream tastes like with French fries in it.
You know what? When I was little, I used to pour myself a bowl of ice cream, and then I'd let it melt, and then I would get French fries and dip them in the ice cream and eat it. Because when you're a kid, you can do things like that.
Yeah, that sounds pretty interesting. I think I might try that out one day just to see what it tastes like. That just
it's really good. It's the salty and the sweet. Ooh, baby.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe you should copyright that dish, I mean,
yeah.
Guy Fieri eats your heart out, or maybe he'll come and visit you and stuff. And
I think I'm probably going to need a little more than just melted ice cream and potato chips.
Well, as a little kid, I remember going to a camp out one weekend, and we were having potato chips, and we also had hot dogs for lunch, and of course we had ketchup. And so this kid, Ricardo, decides to pour some ketchup on his plate, and then he dips his potato chip into the ketchup. And another kid, Dave's like, ew, Ricardo, that's gross. And I said, yeah, that's gross. And then I just got curious. So I decided to pour some ketchup myself and try. I was like, well, this is really good. So I started eating potato chips with ketchup like Ricardo was.
Yeah. They actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think I saw somewhere, maybe it's Lay's, that had potato chips with ketchup, because it's just like French fries.
Yeah, well, it is a popular potato chip in England as well as Canada. They do have ketchup flavored chips, and Doritos has a zesty ketchup flavored chip now as well. But there are no Ruffles with ketchup. Of course, Ruffles have ridges.
Are those your favorites?
That's my favorite potato chip. I don't eat potato chips much anymore, but if I do, I do like Ruffles. I also like kettle chips. Those are really good because they have kind of like that Hawaiian chip taste to them. I love the jalapeno or the salt and pepper are so good.
Yeah. I have not ever met a chip I don't like. I'm not so crazy about the salt and vinegar ones. Those I can walk away from. But, man, you put a bag of sour cream and onion chips in front of me, and it's all over. I can't stop eating them.
I wish they still made sour cream and onion Doritos. A couple of years ago, they did bring them back along with the taco Doritos. And you can still get the taco, but you can't get the sour cream and onion anymore.
Oh, that's true. But they still have ranch ones, don't they? Because those were really good.
Yeah, they do. I think Cool Ranch is probably the closest. It tastes similar to what the sour cream and onion. That's probably why they didn't continue sour cream and onion except for a limited edition, because it tasted so much like the other that, well, it just, it's too similar.
Yeah, Josh, we really should just have a show talking about food.
I know.
I just walked away from a kitchen where I'm about to make blackberry preserves. I cannot stop myself. Blackberries were really cheap at Costco today. Mm-hmm. I was so excited. So I bought like 8 packages of blackberries.
Wow.
And now I'm going to make blackberry preserves when I go home.
For 4th of July, a friend of mine invited a bunch of us to her condo. And we had fruit kebabs. And one of the items on the fruit kebab was blackberries. So it included honeydew, cantaloupe, watermelon, blackberry, and then the top of it was a Granny Smith apple. I mean, it was sliced up and chopped up, but it was really, really good. And pineapple.
Did he grill them?
Didn't grill them, just had them on the skewers like you would a shish kebab. That would be interesting to try it grilled. I don't know if she's done that before, but it tasted good either way.
Peaches are really good grilled. Peaches, apricots, plums. Those are the stone fruits tend to be really good grilled. But you can't grill them too long. You just have to grill them a little bit.
That's true. Yeah, I love peach cobbler, so I can see that peaches would probably taste good grilled. Actually, I do also a food review on my Instagram where I'll do like a 1 or 2 minute review of a place I've never eaten at before and post it there. And I've gotten some views for that one. I've actually gotten more views than my YouTube channel has, which is pretty cool. And I'm like wondering who's watching these, because I don't have 1,000 people watch this. I don't have 1,000 followers on Instagram. I've got under 200. Where are these people coming from? I'm flattered, but it's like I'm wondering, where are they?
Just be happy, Josh.
Yeah, exactly. And
I was looking at my Facebook page today, and I thought, 800 some followers. How the heck? Who are these people? And then I've had so many jobs and lived in numerous places, and I thought, well, yeah, I guess it makes sense. You pick up friends here and friends there, and eventually, 800 some people, I guess. Yeah, there you go.
That's true. Yeah. Speaking of people, who are your favorite news and radio personalities growing up?
Oh, boy. I grew up in Pittsburgh. There was a guy who used to be on the air here when I was a kid 100 million years ago. His name was Reed Cordick. Mm-hmm. And he eventually moved to Los Angeles, and he was married to a gal named Joni Gerber, who used to teach voiceover lessons. I took voiceover lessons with her. But he was so funny. I don't know. I don't know if he was on the air in Los Angeles or if, for whatever reason, people in L.A. didn't get him the way people in Pittsburgh did. But he was so funny. He was one of my favorites. There was a guy named Jack Bogut who was also on KDKA in the morning. And KDKA was the station you'd listen to. My parents always listened to it in the morning because that was where the school closures would be if the school was going to be closed in the winter. And so I would always tune in. And then you jump up and down on the bed and you're so excited because you don't have to go to school. But those were probably two who I listened to, who I liked. I'm trying to think if I didn't. Yeah, I would generally only listen to whatever my parents listened to. And then at night, during the 60s, there was a radio station out of Chicago. Was it Cousin Brucey or somebody who used to be on in Chicago?
Well, Brucey was in New York. In Chicago,
who was in Chicago?
Well, you had Ron Riley was a famous personality there. Paul Harvey, Dick Biondi.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to remember.
Man, you're good. You know all of them. I can't remember who it was we used to listen to.
My parents are from Chicago, so.
Oh, is it WLS?
WLS, yeah, 89, which was a Clear Channel 50,000 watt non-directional.
Yeah, and it used to come in at night, and we used to listen to it at night. My sister was a huge Beatle fan, so she would just listen to the radio nonstop to be able to hear the Beatles when she wasn't playing them nonstop in our house.
Yeah, I think WLS was the official Beatles station in Chicago, like KRLA out here. In fact, Reach Cordick was on 1110 KRLA in 1981 when they made the switch from KRLA Hit Radio 11 and went to more of a traditional oldies format. So you had Reach Cordick in the morning and Dave Hall, the Hullabalooer, in the afternoon. But Reach was only there for about a year.
Oh, too bad. I really did love him. He was very fun, very funny.
Yeah, it's weird because, I mean, some markets, somebody succeeds, and then another market, the audience just does not, they just don't connect for some reason.
Yeah. It's too bad because he was very funny. But now when I think back on it, a lot of the skits that he did would be politically incorrect now. So, yeah, I get it. You just never know what's going to play in one market won't play in another.
Or even who succeeds. Like, for instance, Steve Dahl was a superstar in Chicago, and he came from L.A. originally. That was where he was born and raised. And he was on KROQ as well as, I think, KKDJ, and then was called to Chicago, and that's where he found his fame. Don Imus, the same thing, was from Riverside, and superstar in Cleveland and then New York, but his show, every time it came out to L.A. syndicated, just never succeeded. And he was tried on several stations, and none of those stations did he ever find an audience in L.A.
Wow. Isn't that interesting? And Don Imus ended up in New York, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was in New York for years, and then eventually he did a show from his ranch, I think in New Mexico or Texas. I can't remember exactly where it was. But that's where he originated from the last couple years of his radio show, which ended, I think, about 4 or 5 years ago. It was about a year before he passed away.
Oh, thank God you told me, because I'm sitting here thinking, wait, is he alive or dead? I can't remember. I used to be on the air with someone. It was a radio station out in Riverside. Might have been KGGI. I can't remember the DJ who I was on with, but we used to play a game called Dead or Alive. And he would always ask me, okay, Fran, and he'd name somebody, and I'd think, oh, God, I don't know. And I'll feel for, what if they're listening and I think they're dead, I just hated that game, but it was kind of fun to play. And then I'd find out, oh, yeah, they are actually dead, so it wasn't so bad.
Did he ever have anybody waiting on the other side of the studio door waiting to come in? Somebody's like, well, you know what, he's alive, and he's here right now.
Some grief, Fran. No, thank God that never happened. That would have been funny, though. That would have been like, this is your life. Only, hey, I'm not dead. That would have been bad.
MTV had a game show called Remote Control, and it was it was very sarcastic, a lot of the questions, and it took place in the basement of this game show junkie who had a giant Bob Eubanks Pez dispenser where he'd get the questions from each show. And then he had headshots of different game show hosts behind him, and then a giant Zenith TV set where the different categories were. And one of the categories was Dead or Alive. Eventually they kind of played off on it and mixed it up a little bit. Sometimes the category would be Dead or Canadian. And then another one was Dead, Alive, or Indian Food. And one time somebody was asked, Golda Meir, ding, yes. Indian food, nope.
Oh, no. Yeah. Oh, boy. So much stuff that people used to get away with on the air. That, probably wouldn't want to say anymore. That's a good idea.
Or they'd also, this was a question that you couldn't really ask today. It had to do with sitcoms, and the question was, of everybody living in the Jeffersons apartment, who was the fattest?
Oh my
They
God.
actually asked that question. The contestant said, Louise, yep, yeah, that's correct. I was thinking Tom Wilson, but then the question was not in the building, but in the Jeffersons' apartment. It's like, oh, okay.
In their apartment, yeah. It'd have to be Wheezy. Who else would have been? I love that show. Oh, my God. You know what's funny is I was just playing for my son, Flip Wilson. You remember Flip Wilson?
I do.
Yeah. Oh, my God. He was so funny. And, you know, he used to dress like, he was a Geraldine.
Geraldine, yeah.
Geraldine. And he had that kid, and I would be in hysterics as a kid. I thought that was the funniest thing. And, of course, now, I don't know. I guess maybe it's yeah, there are some people who are still doing it. And it makes people laugh. But it was...
it wasn't risque. It was, it was just silly and goofy.
Yeah.
When Geraldine would get naughty, when Geraldine would get naughty, she'd go, the devil made me do it.
That's right. That's exactly right. It would be risque, but not terribly. It was really funny. God, I loved him. Oh.
I'll confess to you, the first time I saw Flip Wilson, summer of 1984, NBC was dead last in the ratings. And so Flip Wilson hosted a summer special, revival of People Are Funny, and did interviews on the street. And then only about maybe a couple months later, I found out, more about who he was. And so it was a funny show, and I thought it was a really good show, and I was disappointed when it got canceled. They did a short-lived sitcom called Charlie and Company, where Glass Knight played his wife. It was kind of like, and I think people saw it as kind of a ripoff of the Cosby Show, because Flip Wilson, Bill Cosby, two very successful African-American comedians, and so I think CBS was trying to cash in on the Cosby Show craze. So while it didn't go against Cosby, I think they thought it was just too much of a Cosby imitation, and only lasted for about, I think, 13 episodes. Another actor in that show was Jaleel White, who eventually played Urkel on Family Matters. He played Flip's or Charlie's youngest son in the show. And then, sadly, Flip Wilson died at a pretty young age. He was only 65.
And I really did love him. I thought he was so funny.
And the neat thing about him is that he actually answered fan mail.
Did he?
He did, because Shirley Hemphill eventually would play Shirley on What's Happening, was a big fan of his, and so she wrote him and said, I'm a really big fan of your show. Can I meet you? And he says, well, whenever you're out here, just let me know, and we'll arrange with my representatives to, get a meeting. And she did get to meet him, and eventually she became a success in her own right.
Wow. I didn't know that. You know who else would answer his fan mail is Bob Barker.
Wow.
My mother was a big fan. My mom was on the Price is Right and won the showcase.
This is the Talking Archive. I'm Josh Jacobs. We're talking with voiceover talent, radio personality, and writer Fran Tunno. And next time, we'll find out the full story of her mother being on The Price is Right, how much she won, and her memories of Bob Barker.